and we're off. Nick Saban has retired. Bill Belichick has been fired, and other stuff going on. We are truly in the end times. I think this is the Great Classic Sports Debate. We talk anything and everything as it pertains to sports. We try to have fun. We try to keep it interesting. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Steve.
And if you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get right into it. Nick Saban retired. I got to tell you, I was floored. I didn't see this coming. So now he's been at Alabama for a good while, but it just seemed to me that he had a system in place and it just rolls on without too much obstruction. Georgia's given him a few headaches, but either way, I didn't see this coming. What do you guys think about it?
Well, let me go first. He's 72.
Okay.
He's got a wife. He's got kids. I think he has grandkids.
He uses a lot of dye in his hair.
Yeah. So he, unlike Bear Bryant, this job was his life, and I think that's Saban.
True.
But Saban also has a big family, and I think he wants to enjoy his life and maybe go on TV and yap on TV and be funny. And I just think he wants to enjoy life, and maybe he's branched out the last 10 years of having something else besides football, maybe just being a granddad or a father. So he's comfortable with leaving coaching football, but still he can be in football as an announcer. I heard he's going to do that.
Okay, so that raises this question. Is there any possibility at all that he's sandbagging? He's going to take a year off and look for a gig in the NFL. Any chance of that?
Yes, but he's make him 73 going to 74.
Right.
And remember, like the Freudian slip you made was actually brilliant, because that was something I was going to say. Lou Saban coached, he was on 80.
Yeah.
That's his uncle or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, go ahead, Steve.
I would say there's probably 0% chance he coaches in the NFL.
Okay.
No, that's given.
Because he's been there, tried it, didn't work out.
Well,
we all know, and I mean, this was a huge shock, but also he's 72, which I think Bill Belichick is the same age. So that's kind of the other thing,
which is
right. the coincidence.
See, my only thought with the whole NFL thing is there's a bunch of coaching vacancies right now, and the money that's being dangled is crazy. And a guy like Saban, although he tried it and didn't like it and came back to college, he's the kind of guy who wants to excel and leave his footprint anywhere he goes. Okay. And I know it really bothered Spurrier that the NFL thing didn't work out, but at least he was able to come back to college football. And, but I can't help but wonder if maybe that still burns inside of Saban.
I'll say no. And that would not yet segue into Belichick.
Don't go to Belichick yet, because I want to first talk about what Alabama might do.
No, I know, but
okay. That's
going to be because Saban's downfall with the Dolphins was one decision and one decision only, is to take Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees. Had we taken Drew Brees, we as in me, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, we don't want a couple Super Bowls with Saban. I know that for a fact. Okay? That's the thing that would vex someone like Saban. Okay. Like, I can't go out and get the top 4 player at this position, right? Because I got to go pay him and I got to compete. Right. And that's the mistake that led to Belichick's downfall and Don Shula's downfall. So let's go back to Alabama. Go ahead, you guys.
Okay, well, I'm going to just put this out there. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on where they may go. I know that names have been put into the hat. And I know that Dan Lanning has already come out and said, nope, take me off the list. I'm staying right here. So don't even give me a phone call. So with that in mind, what are your guys' thoughts?
Steve, go ahead.
Oh, it's obvious. If you're going to hire one person, who's the biggest name out there right now in college?
Well, Kirby Smart, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, he's not leaving.
Deion.
Deion, right.
No, I don't know. You guys certainly know the SEC much more than I do. For the audience here,
okay,
the two of you guys, just for a little bit of background.
My instant thoughts went like this: Dabo has been coaching at Clemson for, I think, 14 or 15 years now. I think that's right.
I think since 2008, 2009.
Okay. And he is an Alabama graduate and won a national championship while he was there. So his roots and his blood are Alabama. And we also know that a guy, I'm just going to use Spurrier as my example here. Steve Spurrier graduated from University of Florida. He eventually came back, became king of the world while he was there. And then after leaving, even though he went and coached at South Carolina, was successful and beat Florida, he still ultimately left South Carolina and did return to Florida. Not as head coach, but he works in the athletic department there. He's a glorified assistant to the vice president or something or other.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is simple, that you can stray and do other things, but you never really veer too far from home. And I don't know for sure that Alabama will necessarily be that interested, because not only has he lost some of his luster, but after 15 years at Clemson, I don't know, maybe they feel like it wouldn't be that easy to take him away. So I don't know. It's just a thought.
I don't think that. Here's why I think Saban retired, and I think this is applicable to Dabo as well.
Okay.
Granted, Saban's 72 now. Maybe he was looking at retirement, but I think these old school coaches, and Dabo is one of them, the landscape has changed with the transfer portal and the NIL.
And I like to say they created a Frankenstein monster, and now they have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I don't think they want to deal with it. And really, Dabo, what does he have to prove at this point? He's done a great job turning Clemson into. They weren't a traditional blue blood, but they are kind of a powerhouse now.
Yeah. For 15 years, yeah, they've been a powerhouse.
And
they also won the national title in 1881.
Right.
Besides that, when you think of the top 5-10 programs in college football of all time, you don't think Clemson.
Right.
No.
So I think there's a lot of that, and I wouldn't be surprised if, not to talk about Harbaugh or anything, but I think you're going to see more of this from these bigger name coaches that are probably going to look to leave college, because why not just go to the NFL, where sure, you got to put up with a lot more egos, but you don't have to deal with the NIL and the transfer stuff. And I think that probably just got to Saban. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, as much as I hate Alabama, and I know you guys do too.
We do too, yeah.
He's a great
we
coach.
We do not deny the greatness of Nick Saban as a coach. No doubt.
And I really respect him as, I love college coach. I love the college game more than the pro game. And I like the fact that Saban was really about, taking young men and molding them and teaching them and making them better people. And that's what college football is about. And I think he probably got recognized and said, the game is not the game, but the
structure.
The structure of college football has changed so much that he doesn't want to deal with it. So I don't know who's, from who does Alabama want to bring in? Do they want another big name coach to come in? Do they want somebody from inside the program? Because he's got this culture. I mean, why would you seek to bring somebody from outside the program at this point?
Well, you're not going to get somebody outside with zero. Like when Auburn went and hired Brian Harsing, at first I thought it was a really good hire, but this guy wasn't interested in recruiting, wasn't interested in making relationships with the coaches in Alabama. And so the guy, that means the guy's got to have SEC knowledge. So people are throwing out D'Amico Ryans, who played for him and is the coach of the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
But once you've turned the corner in the NFL, you couldn't drag me out of that job with a bulldozer. Same with college. If I was doing really well in college, if I was a coach of Notre Dame and I was winning 10-11, there's no amount of money, unless it was the Dolphins, would get me to the NFL. If you make $1 million, $1 billion, I'm like, no, because I don't want to deal with all the headaches. But I'm going to draw an analogy to the NIL, to the salary cap, and before the rookie paid scale. I think the problem, that Saban and other guys have, in addition to players being paid, is untested, unproven players who've never played a down in college football getting millions of dollars. That's the same problem like these grizzled veterans were getting in the NFL, having these rookies getting paid. They're like, I've been here 12 years. I'm really good. This piece of crap is getting like Jamarcus Russell got $100 million for a
To
4 and
throw the ball at
435
the
record.
combine. Yeah.
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 So all
Yeah.
right, that's my thoughts on that. I mean, as far
Okay.
as
Hey, listen, let me just throw this in real quick, guys. Sometime, hopefully within the next week, we're going to do a show and we're going to have a fourth guest. Now, Paul, you know my close friend Patrick, who's also my dentist, but my really close friend. Patrick has a son in law school right now whose name is David. David is a tall, very, very bright guy, passionate about sports. And he watched our first episode and said, Dad, I want to be, ask Kenny, I want to be on there, right? So we'd love to have him. I think that David is going to be a great, when we have this discussion about NIL and opt out and transfer portal, I think David is going to be, I think he's going to come at this from a different angle as us, which is why I want him to participate in this thing. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole tonight, but go ahead and keep that in mind because I want to get a time schedule when all four of us can do this. And I'm telling you, it's going to be great. It is going to be the best discussion ever. So, but we're going to table it for now. Let's look at Belichick. What's the story there? Belichick has a amazing career and then a couple of years not so great, and he's gone. Was it too soon or was the timing right, or what do you think?
Let me like I said earlier,
Can I just add one anecdote real quick?
Go ahead.
There is a connection between the two because
they
Saban and Paul, you maybe you're going to touch on this, but when Saban was when Belichick was the head coach of the Browns, Saban was his defensive coordinator.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Doesn't you find it ironic?
It is, and I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, they know each other very well.
Back in the mid 90s, 94, 95.
All right.
The same problem, and it's always an analogy between college and professional football, but with professional football, Shula and I think is a very, very good, great coach. But later on, remember after we went to the Super Bowl with David Woodley at quarterback, and then
82, I think.
Yeah,
82.
That's right.
Yeah.
We were at Auburn, and then we drafted Marino 2 years later. We're in the Super Bowl, and then we started crapping out. And then in 90 or 91, we drafted Richmond Webb, left tackle, and Keith Sims, a left guard.
Yeah.
And we went back to the AFC Championship game within a year or two.
Right.
But the Dolphins had so many bad drafts.
Yeah.
Like I was at a game in '88, and I was like, other than Offerdahl and Marino, I wouldn't trade. No other team would want any players on our team.
Yeah.
So that's what contributed to Shula's downfall. He was the general manager, picking the players and coaching them. If I'm an owner, I don't give a damn if it's, unless it's God, you ain't getting both those roles. I'm sorry. Because this is what happened. That's what the destruction of Belichick.
Okay.
Bad draft, bad draft, bad draft, bad draft, bad draft.
But that's also, I agree with you, Paul, but that's also what made him great, too, is that when he was on.
Because he had Tom Brady, the thing that may overlook
No, but
every single mistake. We're down by 20. Our defense sucks. Tom, throw 4 touchdowns and catch us up.
Right.
I know. Well, yeah. I mean, you can make the same argument with Joe Montana and Bill Walsh, but
yeah,
the point being that the great thing about Belichick was you would see things that players would do that you hadn't seen before, and little coaching things that happen in the games. Perfect example is earlier this year when they tried to block I think it was either it was a field goal, and they had the cornerback basically run down the side of the field and time the snap perfectly, just so he kind of got a running start on trying to block the kick. Yeah. Now, the rest of the team was crap, but again, it's those little things that in the NFL, when you have everybody's pretty much equal, and it's those little things here and there that make the game or that make the team better. But he was really great at cutting a player, a year or two before the end of their, prime. So had no issue getting rid of players, instead of keeping them around for too long, which a lot of teams have that problem.
But again, he missed on so many. Like
I
who
don't disagree.
is
Yeah,
good on that team?
he's
Not very many
missed. I
people.
mean, yeah, the last couple of years, obviously,
Couple years. I
he
think it's
has
been
not.
like eight or 9 years. They've just
Yeah,
who's their wide receiver? Who's their running back? Who's their tight end? Who's
I don't
their
disagree. Yeah, I
so
would say at this point, he probably needed to have a general manager, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yep. And this also, if the analogy to college is this, whatever player, like when Larry Coker took over at University of Miami for Butch Johnson, I think. Correct
Butch
me if I'm
Davis.
wrong.
Butch Davis.
Butch Davis, sorry. And he won the national championship, got beat by the Buckeyes when they should have beaten Buckeyes 70 to nothing. If I was coaching, we would have beat you 70 to nothing. But I wasn't coaching because you guys had one NFL player on that team and Miami had like 30. But that just shows how important coaching is, especially in college. But then Coker couldn't get more players in. And then same with like at Auburn. Can you help me out? Like Bowden did that 11-0 with Pat Dye's players, right? Like,
Right.
and then, you know what I'm saying? So other someone else got to pick those players that he had, I remember what Bum Phillips said about Don Shula. He could take your players and beat his players, and he could take my players and beat his players if we switch roles. It was a really good, I think one of the best compliments I've ever heard.
That is a real compliment.
So yeah. So what do you think about it, Kenny, about Belichick?
Well, first of all, the firing I fully get because, when the question comes up, like, what are we going to do with this coach? Does he deserve more rope or whatever? You have to sort of look at, are things trending upward or are they trending downward? Because if you're seeing progress, it can give you some hope. This appears to be moving the opposite direction. So I don't blame the ownership for making that decision. There's probably people who would make the opposite argument, but for me, it made sense. Sometimes it's time to just bring things to an end and start fresh. So I wish them well in getting a coach in there who can take over and turn things around.
I want to say crappy.
But Paul, I'm going to add this. I know that we're Dolphin fans, so we don't root for the Patriots, but you loaned me a book 25 years ago called Pros and Cons, in which the owner of the Patriots, Kraft, had drafted this first-round player, Christian Peter, out of Nebraska, and the guy had a long rap sheet of violence or whatever, and Kraft was inundated with mail, not email, mail from parents saying, how could you do this? I try to teach my son to do what's right, and you set the worst example. And Kraft cut him.
Yep.
He didn't ask for anything in return. He just cut him loose. He said, you know what? This was my mistake. And I said, I'm always going to be a Patriots fan because of that guy right there. Because that's something so unheard of in professional sports. So even though I haven't rooted for the Patriots for any other reason, since that time, I've held a place in my heart. And of course, Tom Brady, I couldn't help but root for. So I wish them well, however this thing plays out. Belichick, I'm already hearing, is probably going to be hired by the Falcons. What did you guys hear?
I haven't heard it. I'm just going to wait to hear it. Like,
okay.
That's what I'm hearing, the Atlanta job. But I always think I laugh when I hear people say that, oh, he would be great at this, in this city or for this team or whatnot. But people forget, like, put yourself in the situation of, hey, I got to pick up and move my family. Now, he's older, and I got to go live in this new state, in this new city. Like, do you want to do that? Like, the job may be perfect, but you're like, do you want to live in Atlanta? Now,
nope.
I personally would not want to live in Atlanta. So that's me. But people always forget about, those important things. And I hear that I don't want to, if we're not going to talk about Harbaugh now, that's fine. But I hear about that all the time as well. I'm like, you're going to go
Oakland? Or not Oakland, Las Vegas.
Vegas. Well, let's go ahead and put that one in the conversation. Is he going to stay at Michigan? Is he going to leave? What do you guys? You guys have an opinion on that? I mean, he got his national championship. If that's what he was after, he may be ready to go. Or he may say, nope, this is home. I'm not going. So any thoughts?
I mean, he was fixed Super Bowl from winning the Super Bowl. If you recall, during that Super Bowl in New Orleans, the lights went out when they were beating Baltimore's butt, and the lights went out for 30 minutes. I was like, this is a fix.
That was
No
crazy.
other. It's madness. So unlike some of the other coaches, Harbaugh had a lot of success in the NFL.
Yeah.
Partly because he played the NFL, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think he could. I don't think that's an issue for him at all.
I think it's an issue of what his wife wants.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
I mean, really, what does he have to prove? Other than winning a Super Bowl, but it's not money. He can make as much money as he wants in Michigan. And it's really about, okay, does he want to move? Does his wife want to move to, I hear, the Charger job is probably his if he wants it. Do you want to move to Southern California versus living in Michigan? A lot of people would take that, but it's also quality of life as well. And
yeah, the current state of California, who knows?
I mean, really, to be successful at Michigan for the next 10 years, here's all you have to do: win 10 games, beat Ohio State every other year, 1 out of every 3 years.
Yeah.
And and we're going to the 12-team playoff. So if you win 10 games and you're in the Big Ten of the SEC, you're in the playoffs. So that's what the standard is. You go to the Chargers, you better win a Super Bowl within 3 years or you're out.
Yeah. I mean,
like
I said earlier, you couldn't, if I'm Harbaugh, there's no way I'm leaving Michigan. But the thing we didn't talk about is the NCAA penalties and sanctions and whatnot. And we don't know what's coming down the road. And that, I think, is the sword of Damocles hanging over his head.
Okay, wait, hold on. Is there reason to believe that there is some larger punishment that's coming?
Yeah, for the NCAA. He hasn't been punished by the NCAA yet.
Oh, I thought he was given like a time off.
Big Ten. That's Big Ten and something else.
The Big Ten. Yeah, the Big Ten put that 3-game penalty on him earlier in the year, or at the end of the year. I think the penalty earlier in the year may have been self-imposed. I could be wrong about that, but there's something coming down from the NCAA.
Okay.
However, I would say that I've heard that the schools, probably the board of trustees, they really want him back, so if they want him back, then they're probably willing to accept whatever penalties.
But what if they,
but the penalty would be levied against the school, wouldn't it?
They could strip them of their national title. They could strip them of all those victories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would not be surprised if something like that happens.
I agree.
Wow.
As an Ohio State fan, I would smile and get a kick out of it. We had to vacate 10 wins for something that is perfectly fine.
The tattooing,
which had no impact on the field performance.
No,
where the stuff Michigan is accused of had a direct impact on
Spygate and all that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, let me mention this really quick because I saw on the news earlier today after the whole Saban thing, I saw that a bunch of Auburn people had rolled Toomer's corner. All right. Now, for those of you who don't know what any of that means, there's a corner there at Auburn University where there used to be a couple of really big, was it elm trees?
Oak trees.
Oak trees. And when Auburn wins a large win in a big sporting event, football or basketball, whatever, people take rolls of toilet paper and they go down there and they roll the place until it looks like a heavy snowfall. Okay. Don't ask me how that started, but that's an Auburn thing. And if you've ever been there or seen it, it's pretty cool. All right. I saw on YouTube what happened today, and it is not even 1% of what it looks like when Toomer's corner has been rolled. So it was a few people. It wasn't like the whole student body or anything like that. It was a few people.
It's probably Hugh Freeze.
What's that?
It's probably Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, right. I personally wouldn't have done it. I get the enthusiasm of, okay, their Darth Vader coach is gone, so that's going to be a boost for our program. So I guess it's something to feel good about. But at the same time, as hard as it is to beat that guy, I like knowing that when we do beat them, that is an that's a real genuine achievement, and Malzahn beat him several times,
4 or 5, yeah.
yeah, and those, some of those were classic games. But in those times, rolling Toomer's corner was worth it. So this thing, I didn't necessarily agree with it, even though I'm not offended by it. But some of the people online were calling it classless or whatever. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. I didn't think it was classless, but at the same time, I wouldn't have done it.
I don't think it's classless, but if I'm Auburn, I want to beat a full strength Alabama.
Right.
Like, I went to Ohio State. It bothered me when we beat Michigan 17 years in a row and they weren't very good, because it didn't make us look as good. So I want Michigan. When we play Michigan, I want them to be undefeated.
Yeah,
and I want to beat them, obviously.
But now the problem with Auburn and Ohio State and Michigan, Alabama was, before it was a beauty contest, 11-1. You beat this guy, and now, like Steve and I have been talking about this since I've known him. Now this doggone playoff is in. Now we're gonna see some real poop. Like, Michigan's going to schedule, Auburn, and Ohio State's going to schedule UCLA. Oh, you guys will be playing in the same conference. Let's say Ohio State plays Florida, because it's like in basketball. You want to test yourself so that I can be ready for the tournament. So all these kind of weird things are gone now.
Yeah, that's not going to happen now, especially now that you're adding more schools to the SEC. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC are only getting better. So why would you schedule hard out of conference games when now you could
of what I just said?
What I'm saying is, now though, you run the risk of, so we're probably going to play. So next year, I think we play UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. I think we don't play USC, but you're going to go now from potentially every year. It was like, okay, you're going to win 10, 11 games, and it's really Michigan, Penn State, and maybe Wisconsin every once in a while. And so, can you get out of that with one or two losses? Now it's very legitimate that even with the SEC, with Texas and Oklahoma, that probably the conference championship champion is probably going to have 2 losses.
Yeah.
So why?
That's the thing. No, because what difference does it make now, Steve, to get into? Hold on, let me finish my question. You want you to answer it. What difference does it make to go to get into the tournament and lose the first game?
Because I agree. The whole point, as long as you're one of the top 12 teams, that's all that matters.
So, like, if Ohio State goes 8-4, okay, I know the brand Ohio State. I know they're pretty badass. They beat these 2 teams, those 2 teams. I like them. They're in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't disagree. I agree with the philosophy of you want to be battle tested, but you run the risk of, if you have 2-3 losses, you may not get in, and so that's the risk.
For
if
a year or 2, you're right.
I want to make sure that I get in. If my job is on the line and I got, I'm making $8 million a year, I want in.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen in the first year or 2 after this new system goes in? There's going to be, the way it's been up till now is, if you're undefeated, you're in, and if you have 1 loss, it puts you on the precipice, right? So it's now going to be where you can have 2 losses and still probably get in. But if you have a 3rd loss, it's going to lean unlikely. It's going to be something like that anyway.
On who it is. Like,
I agree. But still, numerically, that's the way it has been working out, and it's going to continue to work out that way. But I agree.
But you're going to have some power conference bias, like you saw this year, getting Florida State booted out for Alabama, who damn near beat Michigan.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a great game.
So, I mean, Michigan would have beaten Florida State 65-0. Like, look what Georgia did to them.
Right.
I mean,
we'll talk about that in a different episode.
It's not really fair, because Florida State, it was fielding like half a team.
No. Let me debate that point. How many of Georgia players?
Guys, that's the debate. We're gonna lead in with that when we do our show about the transfer portal, opting out, NIL, all those things, because Georgia FSU exposes that whole thing, and why you're not going to be able to use that as any argument when that's the system you've chosen. You created this monster,
No, but Florida State players are cowards and the Georgia players are men because the Georgia players didn't opt out. They went there and kicked the crap out of FSU, whose players are cowards, cowards, cowards.
Okay, I agree with that, Paul. But what I'm saying is, if you are recruiting players whose, let's just say that in their mind, in the mind of the players, they're coming here for one of two reasons: a stepping stone to the NFL or to make millions on NIL. I'm not here to go to class. I'm not here to be a teammate. I'm not here to represent. You've created this monster.
Yes.
You can't then turn around and complain that the guys, they're not good teammates. You signed them. If you had sat down with those guys when they were signing their scholarship and the athlete had said to you, I'm signing this, but before I do, I want you to understand, when it comes to my senior year, I have no intention of risking any kind of injury to play in a bowl game. Do you still want my signature? They would say, yes, sign that paper.
Yes.
So,
and hold on.
This is going to be the downfall of college.
It absolutely is.
If I'm the Bears, who have the Carolina Panthers, I will not pick Caleb Williams because he's a coward too. Because if he goes, oh, if the game is a playoff game and my shoulder hurts, so I'm not going to play because he's a coward.
Okay,
it's different. It's different when you're talking, I'm 20, 21 years old, and I'm only getting maybe less than $1 million a year in NIL.
It is different. But listen, guys, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
We got the warning 5 minutes ago, so we got to wrap it up. This is just getting good, though. Okay, so listen, we're going to wrap it up for now. This weekend, we're going to hit every playoff game, and we'll just keep rolling from there. Okay, so we're gonna be regulars here. But for now, we're going to wrap it up tonight. Good discussion. This is the Great Classic Sports Debate. Please don't forget to check out our sister channels, the Great Classic Rock Debate and the Great Classic Movie Debate. For now, I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve. Go Bucks.
If you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll be back soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.